Here's another story for Read Aloud. I chose today the book called Epossumondas, written by Coleen, Sally, illustrated by Janet Stevens. I think there's going to be something in the story about pies. Here's the title page. And I ordered this book online and had no idea that this has been signed by the author and illustrator. Here's Janet Stevens' signature. And it says, Read, Coleen, Mama, Sally. I hope you enjoy the story. Epossumondas was his mama's and his auntie's sweet little patootie. They just loved him to death. Epossumondas used to go see his auntie most every day, and she nearly always gave him something to take home with him. One day, she gave him a piece of rich gold cake. Epossumondas took it in his hand, scrunched his hand up tight, and went along home. On his way home, he passed Alligator, and Alligator asked, "What do you got, Epossumondas?" "Cake," he replied. Don't look much like cake to me," said Alligator. When Epossumondas got home, his mama looked at that fistful of crumbs and said, "Epossumondas, what do you have in your hand?" "Cake, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Epossumondas, you don't have the sense you were born with. That's no way to carry cake. The way to carry cake is to put the cake on your head, put a hat on your head, and come along home. Do you hear me, Epossumondas?" "Yes, Mama." By and by, on another day when Epossumondas was visiting his auntie, this time she gave him a pound of freshly churned butter to take home with him. Epossumondas put it on his head, put the hat on his head, and went along home. What do you think is going to happen with that butter? On his way home, he passed Raccoon, and Raccoon asked, "What do you got, Epossumondas?" "Butter." Don't look much like butter to me," said Raccoon. When Epossumondas got home, his mama looked at him and said, "Epossumondas, what do you have in that hat?" "Butter, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Epossumondas, you don't have the sense you were born with. That's no way to carry butter. The way to carry butter is to wrap it in some leaves, carry it down to the brook, and you cool it in the water. And then you cool it in the water, and you cool it in the water, and then you take it up carefully in your hands, and you come along home. Do you hear me, Epossumondas?" "Yes, Mama." It made a mess, didn't it? By and by, on another day when Epossumondas was visiting his auntie, this time she gave him a sweet little puppy dog to take home with him. So Epossumondas wrapped it up in some leaves and carried it down to the brook. And he cooled it in the water, and he cooled it in the water, and he cooled it in the water, and then he took it up carefully in his hands and went along home. Is that what you should do with a puppy dog? On his way home, he passed Nutria, and Nutria asked, "What do you got, Epossumondas?" "A puppy." "Well, that doesn't look much like a puppy to me," he said. Does that look like a puppy to you? When Epossumondas got home, his mama looked at that poor little bedraggled puppy and she said, "Epossumondas, what do you have in your hands?" "A puppy. Auntie gave it to me." "Oh, Epossumondas, Epossumondas, you don't have the sense you were born with. It's not the way to carry a puppy. The way to carry a puppy is to put the puppy on the ground, tie a piece of string around the puppy's neck, pick up the piece of string, and come along home. Do you hear me, Epossumondas?" "Yes, Mama." Well, by and by, on another day when Epossumondas was visiting his auntie, This time she gave him a freshly baked loaf of bread to take home with him. Epossumondas put the bread on the ground, tied a piece of string around it, took the other end of the string, and went along home. What do you think is going to happen to that bread? On his way home, he passed Armadillo, and Armadillo said, "Well, what do you got there, Epossumondas?" "Bread," he replied. Doesn't look much like bread to me," said the Armadillo. When Epossumondas got home, him's mama looked at that thing at the end of the string, and she said, "Epossumondas, what do you have at the end of that string?" "Bread, Mama. Auntie gave it to me." Does that bread look very appetizing? "Oh, Epossumondas, Epossumondas, you don't have the scent you were born with. You never did have the scent you were born with. You never will have the scent you were born with. Now, I'm not telling you any more ways of bringing truck home, and I don't want you going to see your auntie either. I'll go see her myself." And Epossumondas' mama got her basket, but before she left, she said, "Epossumondas, do you see those 6 pies cooling on the porch?" "Yes, Mama." "Well, Epossumondas, you be careful about stepping on those pies." And then Mama went off to see Auntie. And then Epossumondas was careful about stepping on those pies. He stepped right in the middle of all of them. Well, at the end, there's a little note about this story, because this story is a folk tale. And our author tells us that from long ago, long before there were books or authors or publishers, storytellers wove folk tales that enthralled all kinds of groups, adults and children. She said folk tales have endured for centuries because they entertain, they stretch the imagination, they evoke emotion and nurture a sense of humor, and they pique our curiosity about other cultures. She talks about the different kinds of folk tales there are. Epossumondas is a type of tale called a noodlehead story. And this particular branch, the Epossumondas, is from the southern United States, but they're from all over the world, she tells us. And she said they're kind of fun. She says this, for her, she decided to take what might be written about a little child and make it into an animal story. And if you think that little possum is just foolish, well, look closer. Maybe he's full of mischief, trying to get a rise out of his mama so he can escape all the errands. Does he remind you of anyone that you know? I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you have a good rest of the week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.